This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Good morning, my Real News Media TV family. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning, and I'm wishing for everyone a wonderful and a productive day. And in the news this morning for January 16, 2023, cops identify man killed in Tivoli Gardens attack. The Kingston Western Police have identified the man who was killed in Tivoli Gardens, West Kingston, yesterday afternoon and have released more information about the murder. The dead man is 37-year-old Nico Francis, otherwise called the Frostman, a shopkeeper from Bustamante Highway in Tivoli Gardens. Police said about 12:50 p.m., Francis was sitting along the sidewalk, grooming his hair, when he was pounced upon by men traveling in a white Toyota Axio motor car. The men, the police said, opened gunfire at Francis, hitting him in the upper body, following which they drove away and escaped in the direction of Industrial Terrace. Residents assisted Francis to the Kingston Public Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Francis's killing is one of two which occurred in the Kingston Western Division yesterday. 5 minutes before the Tivoli Gardens attack, a Booth Futali Pennycook, a vendor from Craigtown, Kingston 12, was shot dead by gunmen on Orange Street. Police said the killings are not related and they have not yet established a motive for either. Retirement funds wiped out, sprinter fears he won't recover money. Jamaican sprinter legend Usain Bolt is staring at a wipeout of his heavy investment at Stocks and Securities Limited and is now fearing that the monies which he had hoped to access in his later years will likely not be recovered. A news source said the information was delivered to Bolt's management team last week, just before the company went public, about a massive fraud that sources say amounted to more than $1.2 billion. Bolt is among more than 30 people whose investments at SSL are believed to have been fleeced by a wealth advisor. Last Thursday, SSL issued a statement saying that it had become aware of fraudulent activity by a former employee of the company. The company said that following initial internal investigations, it referred the matter to the relevant law enforcement authorities to facilitate a thorough and a complete examination of all aspects of the matter. Added the company, to ensure this, we have taken steps to secure those assets and to strengthen internal protocols to detect suspicious activity in the shortest time possible. The company also said it would continue to liaise and cooperate fully with law enforcement throughout this investigation and ensure that the responsible party faces the full consequence of the law. Over the weekend, a news source said SSL was aware of the fraud since August. However, the employee suspected of involvement was still employed to the company up to last Wednesday. That was the same day that Bolt's team met with SSL representatives after requesting a meeting last December following the Olympian's yearly review of his financial portfolio, at which point he had noticed the discrepancy. After Bolt's team brought the matter to the attention of SSL, the company revealed that it had been doing an investigation into other matters to which the employee allegedly confessed, but until then the company was not aware that Bolt had also been affected. Bolt, the source said, opened the account in 2012 and never made a withdrawal. He is said to have invested just under $10 million. However, the source stated that only $2,000 remains in the account. The source also suggested that the magnitude of the fraud involved more than one person, and the authorities are looking at that possibility. Efforts by the news over the weekend to confirm this information with the company were not successful. Late last Thursday, the Financial Services Commission said it had issued directions to SSL barring it from engaging in sales or trading of assets without the permission of the FSC. These directions are a supervisory tool to allow the FSC to engage an entity in a process of enhanced oversight, the regulator said. In the case of SSL, this enhanced oversight reflects the need for the FSC to have a full view of the integrity of the transactions being conducted, including the movement of funds and of securities into and out of SSL. The FSC also said it will continue its investigations into matters related to SSL. Cops flees force. Police officers are reportedly leaving the Jamaica Constabulary Force in droves, with almost all divisions impacted by the exodus, especially since late last year. Persons are submitting resignations left, right, and center. It is right across the GCF. Even specialized operations are being jolted, Corporal Rohan James, chairman of the Police Federation, declared. James was also responding to reports that at least 25 members of the force have resigned from one police division since the start of the year. On the weekend, however, the news could not get confirmation from commanders of the division. However, members of the upper command said they were not aware of any significant amount of resignations. It seems that North America and other Caribbean territories are increasingly becoming escape hatches for Jamaican cops, even as the constabulary boasts of increased intakes and the graduates at the training school. There are a number of reasons why they are quitting. Some are leaving for greener pastures, some are just tired of the crime, salary, the lack of resources, the disrespect, you name it, James told the news on Saturday. A lot of them have left Jamaica, and a lot of them are in other armed forces across the region. Regionally, the British Virgin Islands and the Cayman Islands seem to be the most alluring to Jamaican policemen, James said, adding that he is still trying to get a tally of the overall number of resignations island-wide. There is uneasiness, and I will address it in the coming days. Some things are brewing, but we are not saying anything as yet. I am just making sure that I deal with the issues in motion, and we can talk after that, he told the news when pressed for further details. Last week, the chairman urged the cops to stay focused. We are continuing the mission, while warning their employer, a word to the wise is sufficient. They must still respond to those who still respond to duty's call. James's statement followed warnings he made at the start of the new year that policemen and women were not prepared to take the crumbs with regard to the compensation packages from what he described as a dictatorial approach being taken by the government. Last year, some 15 trade unions signed off to a new compensation package offered to public sector workers, but the Jamaica Police Federation has been among those holding out for better remuneration. It happens so often that if you see your colleagues go off on a long vacation, you really don't expect to see them back, remarked a senior policeman at a station in St. Catherine. From just the CIB office alone, I can count about 10 people who leave. The salary is not so hot, the government can do better. And on top of getting little for your pay, we have to be tapping into our own resources to get the work done, said the cop, citing no landlines at least 2 police stations in Portmore, forcing them to do work with personal cellular phones. One station, he said, was operating with a donated printer that has not been used because the officers can't afford to purchase ink. In Kingston Central, one policewoman told the news that she too could easily recall several officers who have left the job. She is also thinking about quitting in the coming months, but worries about the impact on her pension. Added to that, the officer said, is the increased threat level from criminals after they have relinquished their policing powers and the service firearm. As a senior corporal, she said that she earns $196,000 monthly before deductions. From that, she pays a mortgage, which is $38,000, her son's expenses at roughly $30,000, and electricity bill at roughly $15,000. She also has to finance her mother's medical expenses, as well as food and transportation costs for herself. Sometimes I don't know how I will survive. I just do it because it is what I have. I am not going to just get up like some police do and run away, said the officer, who has been in the force for more than a decade and is now considering migrating to the United States. Most of the people who don't resign is because they want to protect their pensions. They don't want to jeopardize that. It is mostly the younger officers who are migrating, she added. Senior Superintendent Clifford Chambers could not say the total number of resignations from his St. Catherine North Police Division last year, but confirmed that there has been none since the start of the year. Personally, I think there has been a reduction in the resignation numbers when compared to when I was at Kingston West. Out there had a higher attrition rate than at Spanish Town, noted Chambers, pointing out that operations are not greatly impacted by resignations, as usually notices are given and preparations made, just like in any other company. He said that officers who leave the force without notice forfeit their benefits. But it is not so cut and clean, charged one officer stationed in the corporate area. Resignation, he said, is often met with hostility by some commanders. When you apply to resign, you are refused the resignation, and then the commanding officer in turn orders you to report for duties, he alleged. When they report, they are then terminated, and then it becomes a dismissal rather than resignation. This is unfair because some people just really want to move on with their lives. Questioned on the issue by the News, Deputy Commissioner of Police Clifford Blake, who is in charge of operations, directed the queries to DCP Richard Stewart, head of administration, whose phone rang unanswered when the news team called. Blake noted, however, that despite the high crime rate, police operations are not being heavily impacted by any increase in the resignations. I'm not aware that there is a significant amount of resignations because we graduate roughly 600 people between November and December. You wouldn't feel the effect when you have that high-level input there, said Blake. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.